Agenda were posted at the Verona Board of Education office and on the Verona Public Schools District website. Copies of tonight's agenda and resolutions have been made available to the public via the Board of Education website. Mr. Cruz, if you could please call attendance.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Frizella,
Here.
Mrs. Farrar,
Here.
Mrs. Prisco,
Here.
Mr. Boone.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. Our minutes from our April 16th meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Walker.
I'll second. I'll second.
Boone. Any discussion?
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Frizella,
Yes.
Mrs. Farrar,
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco,
Yes.
Mr. Boone.
Yes.
Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our agenda. Tonight we have Childs. They're going to present. I would like to call up Ms. Fire and Ms. Donahue to the podium. Thank you for being here.
Kristen.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Donahue, and I am the co-president of CHILD, which stands for Children Having Individual Learning Differences. And this is Siobhan Meyer, I'm my co-president. And Verona Child is a nonprofit organization that was formed in 2006. One of our goals is to provide a forum for parents, teachers, and administrators to learn together and work hand in hand to bridge the gap between special and general education. We've also presented workshops dealing with special education topics and have donated teaching tools and equipment to the elementary, middle, and high schools to help enhance special education classrooms. Teaching staff from all schools were invited to apply for grants that would enhance the learning environment for special education students. The grant could provide, excuse me, a secondary benefit to general education students within the classroom. This year, CHILD is awarding 3 $500 grants to Verona staff.
The first winner is Linda Barone from Verona High School. Ms. Barone is a special education teacher at Verona High School. She teaches English, history, science, and life skills. She requested a subscription to Newsella, which would enable her to adjust the reading levels of the same article, as there can be a variety of reading levels in one of her classes. Some benefits of the subscription are high interest informational texts, which are attractive to reluctant readers, and the collaboration on assignments and projects, which would lead to greater engagement and rise in confidence levels for all students. Mrs. Barone, I don't think was able to join us this evening, so she'll receive her grant after tonight.
Our second winner is Tatiana Fella, Forest Avenue Elementary School. Ms. Fella is the resource room teacher at Forest Avenue Elementary School. She requested items that will provide a multi-sensory experience for students in the Forest Avenue resource room. Scientific research has proven that in multi-sensory classrooms, students are better able to interpret, comprehend, and synthesize information as they can use more than one sensory input to make connections. A multisensory approach increases engagement, concentration, focus, attention, improves alertness, awakens memories, improves mobilization, improves creativity, and increases learning. So congratulations, Mrs. Bella. Thanks. Our third winner is Felicia Camacho from Landing Avenue Elementary School. Miss Felicia is an RBT, Registered Behavioral Technician at Landing Avenue Elementary School. She requested reinforcers that promote positive behavior for the LSS classrooms, which is the self-contained program at Lanning. Many students need a variety of reinforcers for motivational purposes. Items can become costly, especially with students who have different interests and preferences. The reinforcers can be helpful, particularly when students become overstimulated. Some examples are poppets, fidgets, sensory buckets, and a small trampoline. Thank you, Ms. Camacho. And if the board doesn't mind, we're going to take a quick picture in front of our logo up here. Thank you so much to the board for the time tonight. We really appreciate it.
You for all you do for our students and our staff. Thank you so much.
And Mrs. Prisco, if I may, I get a lot of feedback from various folks in the community about all the good work that Child does, not just with Verona schools, but also the sensory story time at the library. Really means a lot to just this entire community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to our agenda, our final budget presentation by Mr. Gordon.
Sure. Let me allow me to share my screen. All right, good evening, everyone. So this is finally our final budget. So a lot of work has been put in on the administration, superintendent, along with the finance committee, the board. I'm happy to report that we did receive our approval from the county on April 11th. So based on this budget timeline that we've all seen in the past, April 11th was the following day, and then finally we're here April 30th for the adoption of our budget. So I'm going to fast forward into the numbers, and one of the things with our budgetary goals, as you all know, in Verona, we pride ourselves in maintaining our class sizes, and I know that sometimes there are challenges, especially with competing needs, but that's something that it's actually at the core of what we intend in every single year when we put together our budget. There are going to be some challenges in this new budget in 24-25, specifically around federal funding. So as you all know, COVID, the underlining blessings of COVID was all of the federal aid that schools districts were receiving. So right now we're basically scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to ESSER funds. So that is all gone for 24-25. We do have actually three out of classroom teachers that are funded with these federal dollars that we will have to absorb So a lot of dollars that we normally relied on these federal aids are now has to be actually absorbed by the school district. So just so we understand that the future years are going to be a little more challenging just because we don't have those federal aids that we were receiving previously. So for 24-25, we do have an additional built-in 1 FTE for a special ed teacher, a 1 FTE for a kindergarten teacher, 0.5 for ESL, 0.5 for SAC at Verona High School, and the continuation of expanding our professional development throughout the district. And speaking on the numbers, for 24-25, the tax levy increase is 2.52. That includes, so tax levy is capped at 2%. This does include a health benefit waiver because our actual health cost has risen. It's about 7% for 24-25. It does cover a portion of that. So that extra 0.52% is to help the school district cover those competing costs. And even though we are capped at 2%, just note that there are competing increases in a lot of costs with, as you all know, consumer price index with inflation right now is a little hovering around 3.5%. We also have other costs like insurance, et cetera, that is it's double digits, it's about 12%. So a lot of these things are actually catching up after COVID. So we're hoping that we see those numbers kind of like come down and end up plateauing at some point, hopefully for the 25-26 school year. So for our state aid, the increase in state aid for 24-25 is 296,095. The total revenue is 1.6 million. And there is an excess surplus that's coming and additional fund balance that's coming from the FY23 fund balance that we generated, which is 1.4 million. And that's actually an increase of 3.1 million. So this chart actually just has our, so for some folks that are not able to see the screen, this is going to be posted online. It has a year-to-year comparison for the last 3 years. And also the last column shows our change and percent change. On this slide, you'll see a breakdown of pie chart with, as you all see, the benefits takes a big chunk, almost a fourth of that pie. Gen Ed education is the largest piece, followed by special ed. Special ed is broken down by categories as far as instruction, out-of-district tuition, which is at 8%. Also, other related services in special education, such as speech, OT, PT. And related services, the child study team, guidance, the CIA department, school administration, the maintenance of schools, and custodial services. And then this is a similar pie chart that just breaks it down by cost. So it's the same exact as the previous, but it actually has the dollar figures. As I mentioned previously, this will be shared via our website tomorrow morning. And lastly, just to go into the comparison of, before I turn it over to Superintendent Giuseppe, this is a comparison of our expenditures. So here we have our salaries, our benefit cost comparison year to year for the last 3 years, and basically showing a total increase of 5.39% from last year, or from this current school year. And I'll turn it over to
Thank you. I do want to just make a couple of comments about the difficulty of the budget here in Verona. We have a very, very tight budget. It makes it very difficult when we talk about class size. Class sizes are large across the district in most places. And we are bursting at the seams a little, but I did a brief comparison Madison Public Schools has 2,450 students. Their budget is $57 million. We have 2,150 students. Our budget is $40 million. So, and I can go on Mountain Lakes, Berkeley Heights, Caldwell, West Caldwell, a little over 2,500 students, 57 million as well. So we are starting off in a spot that makes it difficult to budget. 2% doesn't make it any easier. And it does, it's a testament to the work that Mr. Cruz does, that we were able to make that budget work within the confines of a 2% increase. And only one position was reduced, and that person is still working in the district. It just went from a coaching position to a teaching position. It makes it would be very difficult to have a reduction in force because we're lean to begin with. You can think about where to go to even find that money, which is why we're looking to change the house structure at HBW. We're making small changes to the schedule for next year to increase some instructional time. The following year, you'll see a change from the house structure. The house structure does a lot of good things, but it also is very costly. So going back into the slideshow, I just want to see it here because I can't see it over there. So some of our instructional curriculum and instruction initiatives, we are focused on literacy and improving our New Jersey student learning assessment scores in ELA and math. But we are also looking at a change in the standards that were approved this year. The literacy standards are very different from what we currently have. So that is an initiative to change program that we're using, and potentially we have to write curriculum. Good news from the state, they are considering putting off the requirement that you have your new curriculum in math and language arts. Instead of being K-12, written K-12 in 1 year, they are giving us an extra year. It's still in the works, but it looks like it's going to pass, which will help districts like Verona because it's costly to write and it's hard to find writers for every grade level. So we'll be looking at reviewing our elementary literacy programs to support those new standards. We are doing professional learning with K-8, Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 to support our Singapore math programs, which are Dimensions in K-5 and Amplify in 6-12. We have a new social studies series. This is, I think it's third year. Yeah, it's third year of implementation. So supporting that and continuing to support an inquiry-based science instruction through Smithsonian. We will be writing a new science curriculum that better matches with the New Jersey Student Learning Standards for science, which really are the next generation science standards. We are continuing with letters, which is language essentials for teachers of reading and spelling. And we continue to administer math growth assessments all the way up into the high school now. And I spoke about curriculum. You could advance the slide. So we started in January with, was it January? No, I'm sorry. It was the beginning of the third marking period with the Positivity Project Character Education Program at HBW. Other than, peer mediation and conflict resolution in the elementary schools, there was no formal program in any of our districts. So we're starting with the Positivity Project at HBW, and we just had another debrief meeting with the teachers that are implementing, and it's going very well. So we are looking at district-wide professional development. So looking at taxonomy of the standards, and that is when teachers will unpack a standard into its component parts, looking at where it is in the level of rigor and really trying to match their lessons with the rigor level of the standards. We are working on creating professional learning communities. We are going with a new teacher evaluation model, which is much more about a growth model than it is about a compliance model. and helping teachers really begin to differentiate instruction. And that is a focus for next year for all teachers. And in doing that, we provide a much better tiered system of supports or response to intervention program, which used to be called Intervention Referral Services in New Jersey. It's now called multi-tier system of supports. But that differentiation of instruction is a tier 1 strategy. So it's something that we really need to take a good hard look at, and continuing to focus on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. With regard to special services, I can personally say that our inclusion at the elementary school pilot this year worked well. I'm sure we all knew it would, and we will be expanding that into 4th grade for next year. And that's what the teacher that you see on in our budget is, to help expand that program. We are going to be in year 2. Actually, I'm going to say year 1.5, because it took a little time to get the life skills classroom up and running at the high school. As I said, increase in ICI, which is what we call inclusion here in Verona, and continuing to train our paras and RBTs. You can do it. Thank you.
So in this slide, we actually have our comp districts. As you see, Verona is highlighted at the end, which shows the per pupil costs comparing to our comp districts and classroom supplies, extracurricular, and also the average property tax in each township. When it comes to tax levy increase, the impact on Verona residents is that that total 42 million .419, and you see the year-to-year comparison and the increases in debt service. So debt service is only increasing by 5,000 this year, and the largest increases in the operating budget. So what does that mean to the average taxpayer? So the township valuation, you see that 2.4 billion is the township valuation on residents. The tax levy is that $42 million number. The rate is 0.017. So that rate on an average home, that's 434,000. That is average assessed home is averaging $7,678.10. So that is an increase of $161.12. So the facts of this budget is that the total increase is that 2.52 number, which is that average increase of $161 per household. The average home assessed in Verona is 434,575, and the average currently being taxed right now is 7,517. So those are your comparison and the bottom takeaways from this budget. So I'm not sure if anyone has any questions. So that's actually my presentation for today. Thank you.
Yeah, Jorge, if I could comment. So, I probably wouldn't comment on this if we had an empty house, but we have a packed house tonight, and we all know why that we have a packed house tonight. We get NJ.com and NorthJersey.com as well. But let's use this as an opportunity to talk about the slide where there was the comparables about what other towns, and that's called a district factoring group, which means that this is towns that have a similar amount of property value and a similar amount of the income that the people that live in those houses have. And if you're someone that is happy that Verona has to do so much with such a limited resource, That's one thing, and I understand that opinion. And if you're someone that is, regretful that Verona had to do so much with such limited resources, that's also another opinion that I can respect. But when 2014, before Governor Christie came in, districts had a whole lot of autonomy as to how much they could raise the local property tax, school tax levy, right? And then Governor Christie came in, and I voted for him once, and another time I didn't vote for him. And I don't think he did a terrible job. But one of the things he did was he said there's only going to be a maximum increase of 2% that school boards can afford to a local property tax levy. So because we were in a position where our number was so low when that law was enacted by Governor Christie, now the most we could do is 2%, which means we're always going to be catching up. And if you were a town that had a pretty high property tax value or high school tax levy, then that 2% is less meaningful to you. But I understand the exact constraints that Jorge's under and that Diane's under, and that, of course, we want to do so many things for all the kids and build a million different programs, right? But the way that the position we were in when that law was enacted is kind of forced us to be in a position where a board or a superintendent might only be able to do one or two things in their tenure or in their term. And so they have to be really careful about what they want to accomplish. And given all these constraints that we have, and given the fact that we were last on that list, like we were the last one on that list, the fact that I see the things that my son had the opportunities he's been given the chance to be part of, and all his classmates have been given a chance to be part of. I'm just really proud of what you've done and what you've done. And I know some people think it's, we're us patting each other to the back, but it's not that. Like, I get how valuable each single dollar is, and the fact that we're still able to produce so many opportunities for all our kids, I just want to say kudos.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if I could just go, and we don't have to go all the way back, but the pie charts slides, what really stood out to me is if you look at all the programs that on a daily basis directly impact a student, that's about 75 to 80% of what is spent. That's not like, it's all like the gen ed, the special ed, all the way over to guidance. Like if you want to like cut out school administration, which I think we do need to include school administration, but like that is a significant amount of our budget. And I think that, again, not to pat ourselves on the back, I think that goes towards our strategic plan and our strategic goals to make sure that our students are always at the forefront of any decision we make. And when we, which I hope we don't have to do, have to make tough decisions, that we try to look elsewhere when possible.
And Jorge, before this current board came to power, how much more did we spend towards administrative stipends that we've gotten rid of since in a couple of years budget at SNL?
No, so the stipends has been significantly reduced. So I think when I first 3 years ago, there was a lot of it was mind-boggling how many stipends, and I just thought that it was normal. And then when I started comparing, I was like, yeah.
Would it be fair to say that this board has reduced the administrative stipends by over $30,000?
37.
Yeah.
So next year
close to
will
40.
be over 40.
Thank you.
And go ahead.
All right.
Oh, no. So I just wanted to add that the other part is like I think one thing that Verona is unique in compared to other surrounding districts that I've talking to colleagues where they're actually cutting and they're eliminating positions and things like that. So I think we've been fortunate to be able to maintain the staffing and being very strategic in how we are backfilling positions and being able to retain and not be in a position where, okay, now we have to eliminate and RIF positions because we won't be able to afford them. So I think that's something that we value, and we want to make sure that we continue having a balanced budget that's going to support all students.
So we didn't cut any positions, but I know we talked in the past, it was 2019, 2020 before I think any of us were here, to be honest. There was that one year we had to cut a whole lot of secretarial staff and other support staff. Is
I-
that accurate?
You know what? That's a good question. I wasn't here. I
I
don't know. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
think that was 2017, 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was before.
So a budget where we're not cutting, but expanding, with the 2% being that we were at the lowest level. I think that's a good thing.
Thank you.
I just have a quick question. So I think, we've spoken about this at length, but for next year, we're anticipating a significant increase of students across the district. We don't know yet where they'll be. And then taking into account that we know 24, 25 is going to be a challenging year without that. And then I know that across the state this year, we saw a significant amount of funds cut, typically, I think, through the equalization aid.
Mhm.
We, as a smaller town, we don't typically get as much aid as some of the bigger towns, but do, and I know that this is a very hypothetical question, but I'm curious for next year, do we think that we may be hit with that same equalization aid issue because of the income that we're seeing come into town? So I think that this is something that we may want to consider, because if we are already getting a small amount of state aid and then we do get hit, I know that I believe that this is going to legislation, right? But I don't anticipate that we would have an answer by the next budget year. So is that an area where we may see those same cuts as larger districts did?
I don't foresee that. I would hope not, obviously. The one good thing right now at the Department of Education is that Kevin Dahmer, the acting commissioner, is a finance person and understands. He was the Jorge of the state, right? He was the BA. And they are looking at a new funding formula. So either way, if it gets passed and gets signed by the governor, we'll see a change in the way schools are funded. Hopefully, we'll see an increase, not a decrease. You don't see any equalization aid going away for us, do you?
No.
No.
So we've on the state side, in the last 3 years, our state aid has been going down. So as you mentioned, we don't have a huge reliance on it, but it does supplement our budget tremendously. So even an increase of $200,000, it does support the district and goes a long way.
And, I'm guilty of it. Like I asked my wife over here, she's the one that fills in all the forms at the beginning of the school year. But a lot of people don't realize that the most important form you're going to fill in, we have a full house, so hopefully people can kind of spread this word. The most important form you're going to fill in is your school lunch aid application, because that's what 99% of districts in New Jersey use to show the state that they deserve to have more money. And, I think that there's a certain stigma out there in certain communities about, reporting income or showing what you actually have, but it's only going to help the district fiscally if we get as many people as possible, filling out the form, because it's not required, right? But that data and that form is what Jorge is going to use to show the state, here's how much money we deserve. So, what I'm going to do as a board member, just keep pressing Jorge to promote that form, because that form is our gold in a lot of ways for this district.
Don't want to leave money on the table.
Right. And the reality of it is, when the new complex does open in August, we're going to get an influx of people that are qualifying for lower income homes. That may push us into the realm of the National School Lunch Program anyway, which then we won't be relying on people completing forms. Those forms that's automatic.
Yeah, and just to no one panics, like just because we qualify for national school lunch doesn't mean we have to accept it. Like that'll be a discussion for another day, right? But it's that data from that form that's Jorge's going to use to show how much we should get from the state, and that's why it's so important.
Thank you. So, given the presentation and Mr. Cruz and my budget, that will be my report. But I do have one just little shout out. For those of you that know anything about theater, know that, and I hope I'm not taking your thunder, am I, Reese? Okay. Paper Mill Playhouse does Rising Star nominations every year, and I'm very, very, very proud to say that Faith Brawley received a nomination for Outstanding Performer in a Female Identified Supporting Role for her role as Janice in Mean Girls.
Next on our agenda is our student representative, Shahada.
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep it short as well tonight. So just real quick, the National Honor Society will hold its annual induction ceremony to recognize new members on May 2nd. And AP testing will begin at the high school starting May 6th and continuing until May 17th. This year, 565 individual exams will be administered. And just in addition to Faith's nomination back in the fall, I'd also like to highlight like crew nominations from the Rising Stars program, including for hair and makeup, as well as costume design this year. Came out a few weeks ago. They came out scattered, but there were.
Oh, okay, I just saw the acting nominations. Thank you for bringing that up.
Moving on to our committee reports, the policy meeting.
Yes, we met. Can you take it next?
Okay, I will try to keep this quick as well. So policy met for our first readings. We spoke mostly to policies in equity and education, which were for the most part just state mandates. So they were just kind of cleaned up and updated and looked through. We are also updating the sportsmanship policy with that. However, we can expect to see a new updated student and athlete handbook coming out this year, which was something that we felt was much needed. So we're looking forward to that handbook and being able to really use it as a way to hold true to the expectations of behaviors for all students. And then the others were really around security policies. We spoke to these last meeting during our security committee update, where we went through and started looking through those policies and determining which ones need to be updated, and B, how we can ensure that the policies are being implemented, being read, being implemented, consistency across the district, or consistently, I should say, across the district. And that was really it. Did I miss anything? No, that was it.
Diane, I just have one question. You mentioned the student athlete handbook. How does that compare with state guidance? In terms of I mean, there's the NJ Sports Association regulations. Where does this go beyond that?
Well,
I-
we
I'm
haven't
sure.
seen a draft of it yet. I think Ms. Palmarese is working on it over the summer. But once we get a draft of it, we'll be able to.
Typically, though, I believe that the mandates come from the state, right? The statutes come from the state, then the regulations come from the board, then the
Right.
policy, the
comes from
handbooks come from, yeah.
administrative-
Right.
So
So
it's
we're
not,
Yeah.
we're not making up on our own. It's all kind of stems from the statute and follows down, and then.
Yeah, and athletic handbook is kind of like a code of conduct for our athletes. It's an extracurricular. It's not included in a free and appropriate education. It's an extracurricular.
Right.
And it's a privilege. And we want to make sure that we have a good responsibly how to be. I mean, and our kids are great, right? We won sportsmanship award almost every year for the past 5 or 6 years or more, as Mrs. Palmarese pointed out at our last meeting. But it's always good to have guidelines.
I think it's also just a matter of ensuring that our procedures are being followed, right? That each year that when students are asked to check a box or sign something before they begin, that there's a handbook that they are being encouraged to read and that it's updated. Because I think just simply updating documents, it's like anything, right? If I read something that was written 10 years ago, it holds a lot less weight for me than if it was updated 6 months ago. So I think that just really making it a priority as a board to review these policies to ensure that the procedures are there is important
It formalizes
for that
it.
reason alone. Yeah.
Moving on to
Mhm.
Yeah,
I can.
I-
Yep. No,
I got, Most of the finance was the
Yeah, yeah.
budget presentation, but just to kind of go through a couple things that were published, the fiscal budget. The Pumpkin, I know because there's a lot of people here, so I'll talk about that. Pumpkin lunch menu. The new prices have come back. We pushed back a bit on some of the increases. And so we're waiting to hear back from Pumptonian about if we're going to have any adjustments and what they're going to be. We're trying to minimize what we can, particularly the more popular items. I would like to see those get a little bit of a smaller increase where possible. I shouldn't say I, 'cause it's not just me, but we as a community would like to see that. Brown and Brown, those are our health insurer brokers. They came back with the health insurance plans. And so we're looking for we're looking through them and those are in line with the budget. There is a revised building usage form. Every time any organization, whether it's part of the school system, the rec department, an outside organization, they're supposed to fill out a form that tells us everything. So, and some entities are charged different rates based on who they're associated with. So we just updated that form and that's available. And then we are looking at a proposal to change, I think actually it might be on the agenda, to change the attendance, to change who tracks our attendance. Right now, the cost of Frontline is almost double what this new company is, and they have the same functionality. It just makes sense to switch it over and see how we can have some savings. And I think that's it. Anything I missed, Mr. Boone?
I have a question if I could jump in. So I know that every few years we're required to put out the public bid, the school lunch service. And I'm not saying I have opinions either way about our current service, but I do appreciate the capitalistic idea of, let's see if someone can come in and offer a better service for a cheaper price. When's the next time that our food service vendor is up for public bid?
We talked about that in the finance committee, and I think we've talked about a couple times here. I think the current plan is to see how many additional free and reduced lunch program applications we get. So that way we're going out, if we decide as a board to go out as under the federal food lunch program, we're going out for that program versus we're going out now for a different program.
And I totally agree with that, but I also think there's a requirement that, and Kyle, you are legally, like every so often we have to put this particular agenda item out to bid no matter what, correct?
5 years.
So what year are we in now?
So this is year 4. So we're entering their last year. So 24, 25.
So we'll have to put that out for bid no matter what and give everyone a chance to tour the facilities to see if they want to put in a price for us.
Absolutely. So we will have to complete that RFP by the spring.
Very good.
But I do think that it's important to see, because right now, from my understanding, students who do qualify for free and reduced lunch, that lunch is paid out of our budget because we are not part
I
of the
see what
National
you're
School
saying.
Lunch
I see what
Program.
you're saying.
So if we have 150 students come in,
I see what you're
100% potentially who qualify, we're looking at a significant amount of money out of our budget
Hmm.
to pay for those lunches. So that's why it's so important.
And that could be something we negotiate to the RFP. Is that correct, Jorge?
Yes.
Where we ask for a certain amount of kickback or something like that?
Or
Or however we design the RFP.
Exactly. So I think in the RFP we could actually talk about the cost structures and the management fees and those pieces. But they do have certain things like rebates that the board actually gets from.
Yeah,
from
because
those.
I think the only requirement is that 50% be the cost, correct? But we could choose what the other 51% be the cost. We could choose what the other 49% is as far as our metrics. Is that accurate?
So that's probably with like a program like National School Lunch. So right now we fully fund the entire operation. So we're talking about kitchen staff. So our lunch program here in Verona is 100% self-funded.
Interesting. Very good.
Yeah.
And when the new housing opens, the way, from my understanding, it's going to open. The first group is going to be in August. Those, I believe, are most of the 2 and 3 bedroom homes. So we should have a good kind of idea early in the school year as to a percentage of people that may qualify for free and reduced lunch. So that way we can use those numbers to educate ourselves as a board as to what we want to do going forward.
And even if we do decide to explore the free and reduced lunch, we still are able to use private companies like Pontonian or Massiato's. It all has the option. It's just really what is, instead of fried food, it's baked food. It's kind of like those mandates, right?
Cedar Grove uses Pomptonian and they are free. They have national school lunch program.
Yeah.
So they all kind of have like.
Yeah, they all have it.
tracks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they all have it.
Should I have the bet that August, we all drive by and we see like, it looks like they're making a whole lot of progress on that development. That maybe you can answer this, but why do we think August is?
That's what they told
date?
us.
Who's they? The company?
Town.
The towns?
Yeah.
They mentioned August, but I believe when they mentioned August, they mentioned that it was going to be about 12 units. So that's not really a lot out of the
No.
96.
And
Right.
August and then December is the next phase, correct?
Yeah, it was August, December, March.
Yeah.
When I,
So it's gonna be a slow, gradual kind of thing, it looks
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, it will. And
which has its good and bad points.
so our numbers for state aid won't change until the following, the 26th, yes, because it's an October 1st snapshot. So it won't be enough of an impact with the August move-in to really move the needle on any increase in state aid.
It's unfortunate. Okay.
Oh, I just wanted to, because I did look it up, because my daughter sent it to me. For the, sorry, I lost my train of thought. The play in the fall, the nominations, Julia Nogales got nominated for Outstanding Achievement in Student Makeup Design and Outstanding Achievement in Student Hair and Wig. Kaya, I am so sorry, I am gonna mess up your name. Gamusayak?
Gumosaic, I think.
Mosaic, Outstanding Achievement in Student Stage Management. And then the whole murder cast got nominated for Outstanding Achievement by an acting ensemble in drama. So
Murder cast was amazing. Amazing.
all in accents.
They did.
I guess my new and old business is, I know we have votes coming up in the public comment, but Reese, I saw that you got accepted to college, and as far as, a student rep on the board, you're as good as they got, and I'm so proud of you. And I was just so proud and happy that, to see a great person accomplish something amazing. So congratulations, Reese.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been incredible being on the board for the past 2 years, and yeah, I'll be looking forward to tuning into live streams.
Needs to approve personnel resolutions A1 to A4.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Walker, seconded by Mr. Boone. Any discussion?
Nope.
Mr. Cruz, can you please call roll?
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Brazella,
Yes.
Mrs. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco, Mr. Boone.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Resolution 1 through B3.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Brazella.
I'll second.
by Mrs. Ferrara. Any discussion? None. Mr. Cruz, please call roll.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Brazella,
Yes.
Mrs. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco, Mr. Boone.
Yes.
Motion carries.
extracurricular or facility. So moving on to finance. I need a motion to approve resolution E1. E10.
So moved.
Motion by
Quick
Mr.
question,
Gonzalez.
what's Red Rover Technologies?
That's the attendance.
It's,
Oh, that's the thing you're
Like
talking about. Oh, very
front-loading.
good, very good.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Prisco. I did have a question and it's not a challenge by any means. On E9, what does this nice $500 grant allow us to do at FN Brown for the peer mediation? I mean, from context, it's pretty clear, but I'm just curious to see how that looks in real life.
I actually have to look up Dr. Lanza's, I have to check my backup. Hang on one second. I'm not
I'm
sure, but
sorry.
that's okay. I just off the top of my head, don't know what they're going to use it for.
I did just while we're reading, I did want to thank, in this point, in this part, I want to thank Child, who we celebrated today, the Verona Community Garden, VFI, who is incredibly strong and generous in the community, and the New Jersey Bar Association, because we spoke much to it today, but these grants, though they may be small, really do impact and make a difference. So thank you to the organizations.
Shaboon, I'm going to have to get back to you on that because I can't find his email at the moment.
By me.
Motion by Mrs. Rosella, seconded by
Again,
Mrs. Ferrara. Are there any other questions or discussions? Mr. Cruz, if you could please call the roll.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Frizella,
Yes.
Mrs. Ferrara,
yes.
Mrs. Prisco, Mr. Boone.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Governance policy. I need a motion. Resolution F1 through F3. Moved by
So moved.
Mrs. Ferrara.
I'll
seconded
second.
by Mr. Boone. Are there any discussion? Mr. Cruz, if you could please call the roll.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Mrs. Frizella,
Yes.
Mrs. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco,
Yes.
Mr. Boone.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I have the answer to Mr. Boone's question too. I found the backup. It was hard copy, not electronic. It is the $500 will be applied as follows. Building-based program, 375. That is, goes back into the peer mediation program. Transportation costs, so back and forth to the law center down by Rutgers.
So, thank you.
On to the agenda on public comments. Mrs. Rosella, if you would please.
Sure. Hey, everyone. This is just on behalf of the board. We want to address your concerns regarding recent articles in the Bergen Record and New Jersey, NJ.com, which discuss litigation against the Board of Education and some specific staff members. We cannot comment on specifics of the matter at this time, as it involves confidential student information under the law and active litigation. However, the board as a whole want to assure you that at all relevant times, the district has had policies and procedures in place to address all allegations of criminal activity, including child abuse and criminal sexual contact. It's important to note that district staff, including board members and superintendents, principals, and anyone who's associated with the Board of Education, are required to report any potential child abuse in accordance with New Jersey law. District staff are also required to report any allegations of criminal sexual contact in accordance with the same New Jersey laws and the State Department of Education's Uniform State Memorandum of Agreement between education and law enforcement officials. Failure to do so would subject the individual staff member to disciplinary action within the district and the potential action against their teaching license by the state of New Jersey. Consistent with these provisions, the district and staff immediately notify law enforcement officials and other state investigatory authorities when there is reason to believe that potential child abuse or criminal sexual contact has occurred. These protocols are consistently followed to ensure that the safety and well-being of our students. The district fully cooperates in the investigation conducted by these authorities related to those accusations, and any recommendations or directions from the law enforcement agencies regarding actions appropriate or necessary to ensure that all students are safe. The district will respond to the allegations in the complaint at the appropriate time through the legal process as we are required to do. However, due to the ongoing nature of civil litigation and due to the confidential nature of student information, we cannot further comment at this time. We thank you all for your understanding and support as we navigate this process. We will listen respectfully and carefully to everyone's comments today. We will take notes, and we will respond to questions as much as we can at our next meeting. I hope you understand that most of us up here are parents, either with students that are active in the school system or have recently graduated from the school system. We understand your concern. We understand your, I don't even know, concern, just upsetness. I don't, that's not even a word, but I understand it. I have 2 children of my own. And we are members of your community. So, you know, we're not trying to put a wall up. We are obligated to protect people, to protect minors in this type of situation. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rizzo. If I could jump into, just because we can't comment about what you're going to say doesn't mean it's not, we're not going to listen. It doesn't mean it's not going to affect us and impact us and kind of be the kind of thing that stews within us. So, you know, everything you say, we're just going to listen to, and we will be here for as many people as need to speak, right? So let's do it.
So we're going to open the forum to public comment. You can please state your name. We ask that you speak for 3 minutes. We have the timer. We do have a policy in place that's been set for, I don't know how long, but for 1 hour of time. So
Thanks for saying that.
hopefully we can get to everyone who wants to speak. So if you would like to go up to the podium, just all you need to do is just state your name, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you. And again, thank you for being patient with us and being here this evening.
My name is Jennifer. I have a student at FM Brown. Are the bathrooms, hallways videotaped at FM Brown? Can you answer? Anybody answer?
I'm putting my mic on, sorry.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. We have cameras throughout the hallways. It's not legal to put a camera in a bathroom.
The hallways,
The hallways, yes.
even since the lawsuit, you have footage. How long does the footage stay?
I believe the records retention is 31 days is what we follow.
Okay, and if we request Dr. Lanzo to step down and Dr. Graziano to step down,
Excuse me?
if we request Dr. Lanzo to step down now and Dr. Graziano,
You're requesting them?
Mrs. Graziano,
You're,
I'm nervous.
yeah,
Yes,
I understand. It's hard to speak in front of a crowd. So you're requesting that they step down?
yes.
Thank you.
Mrs. Rogers, love, adore her, but there's doubt. And as a principal, that is your house. I know these are allegations, but it presents doubt. Thank you.
Excuse me, Jennifer. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can you just, I think you just said Jennifer. Can you just give us your last name?
Do I have to?
No?
Starts with a P. I mean, it's recorded. Is it recorded? Okay, great.
No, no. Okay,
I've
okay.
been there.
Thank you.
I've been there for many years.
Can I ask one more question? I still have a couple minutes.
You have time.
How long until we find out
How long do you find out what?
about the case that's ongoing?
That's up to the civil court system.
So that's like a year.
It
It really depends on the case. There's no timetable I can give you that, no.
And then if anything is against the teacher or the principal or anybody, is that when something would happen to them?
We can't speak to personnel matters.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Peggy.
Sorry.
It is on.
I won't be long. I won't be 3 minutes. Peggy Kenrick, and you just brought up a good point. I've been here to speak to you all before, and I asked a question about videotape, and I was told it was 31 days of retained film. And I asked at that time, which was last fall, we're probably coming up on maybe 9 months since I was here, and asked for that to be changed. And I think we all understand now even more so why that needs to be changed. 31 days is ridiculous. I'm sorry.
And I
So-
explained to you at the time, it's a server issue. We don't have the storage. space.
Okay, but then let's put, and I'm sorry, respectfully, it's frustrating to me because we'll put up a GoFundMe now and put it together. I mean, this is absolutely insane that we don't have this. 31 days. So it's not on you people individually. I'm sorry. This is clearly at, we all have a big concern about this, but I think it's time to take action. So thank you. Thank you.
Jump in real quick. And this is an IT question, if the district can reach out to the IT person, and sometimes if you make the cameras only activate when there's motion sensor, then they'll only record.
We're already motion.
You're already
sensor.
there.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
good. Very
Thank you.
good.
Thank you for that.
I just have a quick question. Is that, and this may seem ignorant, so I apologize, but is that something that we're able to do? Like, are we able to do GoFundMe's for budget line? I just want to know if that's a viable, I really don't know. Okay.
So I just want to add into the servers. So one of the things that the chief technology officer and I have been discussing is our servers are already dated. I think they're about 8 years old, so it's already getting to a point where it's time. So one of the budget line items in this proposed budget or this adopted budget that we just actually adopted today is basically replacing the service, which if the board agrees to it, it will be done over the summer.
Yes, so I'm sure the board would very likely agree if we could have our vendor come and talk to us. Maybe not even just a committee, but in general public session, be like, here's the deal with how long a camera can last in a school system. Here's the price if you want to extend it. And if we can get those facts and make it public, I think that'd be a good thing.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then also one more thing, I'm sorry, but I don't remember exactly when, but I believe it was in the past maybe 6 months to a year. Was that where we added a security line into the budget and then had additional cameras put into
Yes.
every school?
Yes,
Right,
you started
okay.
that. Yes, for this. So
Okay.
this is actually year 2 of
This
the
is
additional.
of that, okay.
Thank you.
Laura Siligato. I wrote something, but before I read what I wrote, I just want to start by saying, I appreciate the attempt at making a statement. However, I don't believe what you're saying today. I don't believe you followed policy. I don't believe you followed protocol. And I don't think you can say that to us today until it's proven in court. I have 2 daughters at F. Brown and a son that will be there in a few years. I'm a very active member of the community and of our school. I'm here tonight out of concern, sadness, and fear for my children's safety and safety concerns for our entire district. We need to know that our children are safe when they go to school. And this past year alone, the district has proven to have a pattern of negligence, disregard for our children's safety, and an ongoing lack of communication, transparency, and accountability. There are now known incidents of abuse in all levels of education in this district, just in this last year alone, 2 of them being sexual abuse. What are you doing to show us that our children are safe? So far, your actions have only proven that you care about your jobs and your reputation. This repeated lack of action speaks volumes. At this point, I have zero trust that our children are your priority and that their well-being is not at the forefront of every decision that's being made. The district is responsible for their academic success, but also their emotional, psychological, and social well-being. How can you sit here tonight and tell us that our children even make your list of priorities? Knowing what has been made public in this recent lawsuit, for you to sit here and say that you have any care or concern is
just a lie. It's just a lie. You continue to rely on the fact that you can't speak because it's an open case, that you're cooperating and following protocol. But we're not just talking about one incident. We are talking about repeated patterns of abuse. So your protocols and your cooperation after the fact means nothing. Your lack of action to protect our children in the wake of this abuse tells us all we need to know about who and what you prioritize. What actionable steps have you taken and will you continue to take to begin to prove to us that our children are safe? I don't actually want to hear your answer to that. I want to see action because your words are meaningless. I think a suspension of the named staff in this lawsuit would be a good start. And since Ms. DiGiuseppe is identified in this lawsuit, I think you need to recuse yourself from these decisions. Therefore, I look to you board members to step up as our elected representatives and start taking action to protect our children.
Thank you, Ms. Delgado.
Hi. Did the school call child? I don't want to announce my name, so that's fine. Did the school call? Do I have to? All right, Stacy Rangel, there y'all go. Did the school call Child Protective Services in connection with this matter? Can y'all answer that?
As reflected in the statement, the board cannot respond, the district not respond regarding specific student matters or active litigation.
Yeah, is that in y'all's policy?
Matter of state
Actually,
law that we
law.
can't speak
Yeah,
as to
sorry.
student matters, yeah.
I'm sorry,
State and federal law.
it's state and federal law, it's FERPA and New Jersey student records. We are not, and I do, some of you might know, I actually practice in this area of law. And I'm not giving legal advice, but I am just saying that that is what the law is, that we can't comment in public about specific student matters.
So y'all can't say if the boy was interviewed by Child Protective Services or if any professional outside of the school system at all? Okay.
Read the statement as to what would happen in a procedure, the policy and the law in terms of what happened, but in terms of this specific matter, no, the board is not able to respond with specific information as to these students.
Is this alleged predator still in our school?
Please.
Why is the teacher and principal still active in the school? Can y'all answer that?
In a back and forth, you have our response in terms of.
Well, I'm asking a separate, this is a different question.
Well, same thing with respect to personnel. There's also state law regarding personnel matters. So again, you can ask as many questions you want, but the same answer is coming back to each of them.
So if like the alleged, teacher in high school, he was alleged, did it, and he got kicked out, what about the alleged student? Does that make sense? See the difference here?
I don't think you have factual information with regard to any allegations. That's correct. There's a person in jail is what you're referring to, but that's an entirely separate matter. But again, we have no comment beyond this. So again, I'm not going to respond further.
All right.
How you doing? I'm Luke Stefanacci. I get it. There's no more commenting further. So I have a question as a parent whose son will be entering F.M. Brown in the fall for the first time. What's your SOP for going to the bathroom? Is there going to be any change in like your protocols for how you'll handle that in light of this situation? Anything you can comment on that to assuage mostly my wife's fears at home?
Jumping on your point, Luke. So I know a lot of lower elementary schools have the bathrooms like in the classroom, right? I think most kindergartens will have that and sometimes first grades too. What's the story? What's the story with that FN? My son with that friend too. And
Right. We don't have a bathroom in every classroom. In certain classrooms, there is a bathroom internally. So we began using Turnstile last year.
Like a check-in, check-out?
Yeah, it's actually a Chromebook set up in the classroom. So when a student is going to go to the bathroom, to the nurse, to main office, they actually bring up their name and hit a button so we know where they went, what time they went, and when they returned, and they do the same thing in return. We've been using it in the upper grades for a long time. I believe during the pandemic, they tried to use sign in, sign out sheets, which were paper and pencil, and our little kids struggled with, switching the big hand and the little hand and, just recording it accurately. So this is kind of new to y'all, but we've known about this for quite a while. As you can see from what you read in the paper, it happened a long time ago. We have put a lot of new safety in place to keep a better eye on what's happening in our bathrooms. And that's going to be different from school to school because Brookdale's got 117 kids. They don't need the same kind of protocols as a school the size of Lanning or FNB. But 2 kids allowed in the bathroom at any given time. They manage that using stop and go signs on the bathroom door. If there are 2 green, that means there's no one in there. It can house 2 kids. If a student's going in, they take the green off, stick it to the wall, put the red stop sign on. Now we know there's only 1 stall open in there. And that's the way it's been since actually the pandemic at FM Brown. And so that's still in use. 1 female and 1 male child can can go to the bathroom at any given time from any classroom.
All right. Good jump into just listen, like professionally, I'm a school superintendent. Denise is a school education attorney. Diane is a school teacher, an educational leader. If a situation like this were to happen and DCPP wasn't called, we would be flipping mad. We would.
Again,
Just
the
come to
board
the
can't
podium.
comment specifically.
If you want to come up to the podium, sir, you can come up to the podium. Okay, okay.
Yes. If Child Protective Services was not called, Lanzo, Graziano, unfortunately superintendent, I'm sure you have a role in this, should be removed from the position. Is there any disagreement on that? I don't see any disagreement on that. That's common sense. You can't answer the question because you're worried about getting sued. You're not worried about what's in the best interest of the children and the parents here that are concerned about the safety of the children. That's not right. Verona is a good school system. You can absolutely do better. We can all do better than this. This is wrong, the way this is being treated. It's Michael Dishley. Yes. So are you going to confirm that CPS was called or not? Are you going to say that he wasn't called or they weren't called? Was the child interviewed by CPS? How about the investigation? Did the school investigate the truth of the allegations and the school policies? Are they being followed? Can you answer that, please? You're stating to the public that supports everybody here in the school system. You can't answer that.
I'm telling you, it's a matter of federal and state law that we cannot disclose information about specific students. You can make assumptions. I can't say that your assumptions are correct.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing more can we give you.
Okay, that's really helpful for everybody here worried about their kids. Why is the student still in the school? Tell me, there's a sexual predator accused in the school.
We have to stop you from speaking about another child.
Okay.
Like that, please.
Okay.
Please refrain from,
Okay. Safety of
We-
everybody here, worried about that.
we understand.
I don't think everybody here seems to understand what's happening. Was CPS called? You won't admit it. CPS wasn't called. We know that to be true. We believe that to be true. You won't confirm it. I don't understand the real logic here. Lanzo, the teacher, and the superintendent, unfortunately, I think need to go. That's all I'm going to say about this. I think it's pretty clear based on your responses here where the board stands with this. I think you guys can all do better than this, and I hope you do.
Thank you, Mr. Dishley.
Come back. Did anybody, I'm sorry.
Yes, is there anyone else that wants to speak before?
Damon Lipscomb, I live in Verona. This is what abject failure looks like. The good news is, you guys can be voted out. You two can be fired quite easily. You failed 20 times in a bathroom. It's kind of disgusting. Do better, or quit, or be fired. Make a decision.
Thank you.
Jessica Salas. I have a child at FM Brown. I understand specifics cannot be talked about, but I just want to know what has been done. What has been done to change the policies, to make our children safe? Like that can be told to us. What has been done and knowing that the boy is still in the school, what is being done to keep our children safe, even though it's an accusation, even if there's a chance that it's true, it's a danger, and we need to know what's being done to protect our kids. And I think at minimum, that can be told us.
So in September, Dr. Lanzo put out a memo to parents about security measures that have been put into place. And he's going to reissue that memo to parents currently as a result of the concern that we're hearing. So I mentioned some of it earlier, putting in place turnstile to keep track of movement of students, increase. And I want to note that the increase in camera was planned prior to any accusations. We have increased camera coverage in each of our main office. It used to be that when we needed to see footage, you had to go to a computer, log into a system, go to the day that you're looking for, the time that you're looking for, and look at the footage. It wasn't a live watch. Now in each main office, if you've been in the main office, you may have seen it or noticed it. There is a large screen that has multiple cameras, so you can watch. People can keep an eye on movement in and around the building and throughout the building live without having to go and look for a specific day, type, date, etc. The security committee has met and we're reviewing all of our safety protocols and keeping up on making sure that all of our policies are up to date with regard to safety and security.
And that's it.
I can't speak to anything about a student, so.
I would invite the public to read the policies so they understand what procedures will be followed in the event accusations are made. And again, while we can't speak to specifics, and believe me, no one is more frustrated than I am not being able to respond well, I shouldn't say that because I think everyone up here is as frustrated as I am. But believe me, we are very frustrated not being able to respond with it because, you know, assumptions are clearly being made. And through the legal process, we will be able to respond. And we look forward to that opportunity.
The other thing there has been opportunity for the district, for Dr. Lanzo to address this with the school community before this article came out. And I think that's huge misstep on all of your parts. And for him specifically, I mean, I think the statement that was put out, it felt extremely disrespectful. It's just like this blanket, just generic statement, which I get you have to put out for legal purposes. But if this is supposed to be a family, like for Dr. Lanzo specifically to be silent, it feels extremely disrespectful.
So we put something out last year when this happened. And to be honest with you, we had very little advance notice that there was an article coming out. When I was questioned about making a statement, we gave our statement to, I was in advance, I guess it was Bergen Record was the first one to reach out. And I asked when the article would be released and she told me probably midweek and it came out Monday morning. So there wasn't a lot of advance opportunity to do that. In order for us to put together a response that is within the law, it's got to be reviewed by our attorney and by the attorney for the insurance company who is going to be litigating this case on our behalf. So it wasn't as easy as just putting something out immediately. It has to go through legal channels to make sure that we are not disclosing something that we are not legally able to do.
Then I would just say, as
I had
Heather
not, yes, and I have
said,
not been served yet. We had not even been served with this lawsuit yet. So the media outlets had knowledge that I didn't even have.
So I would just reiterate what has already been said. Since this is not a new thing, this has been ongoing for years, then why is Dr. Lanzo still at the school? Why is the teacher still at the school while this has been going on? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Jump into, I think this is important. You know, everyone has the constitutional right to file a lawsuit. Like everyone has that right. And then the purpose of that lawsuit is to, let's have our day in court. You present your facts, the other side presents their facts, and we see where the truth lies. I just want to caution this crowd or plead with this crowd that these are allegations, and the idea that we're going to label a really young child as like a sexual predator or something like that, like those are strong words for someone that's accused in a lawsuit. So, if that was my son, and I'd be really, really
Chris, again, I'm
scared.
going to ask you to stop
Okay.
discussing that.
That's essentially what you're saying. And nobody is here after the boy. We're talking about the adults that were involved, and should have been the adults in the situation. Take care of it.
No one is labeling anyone a liar.
Who was he saying that was
No,
being-
I file lawsuits on almost a monthly, probably a weekly basis now. And my facts and the facts people who oppose me sometimes are different on paper. So we have to let the process play out. That is why we have a process. Please. And if you want to comment, please.
So yeah, my name is Alfredo
Thank you,
Labelle.
Denise.
I'm over on Willow Terrace.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Failure. Failure is it. That's absolutely what it is. There's no other way to describe it. I mean, when the 31 days, I mean, it's a tech issue. I wish you were as passionate about these servers as you were about the damn lunch. I mean, half hour late to what we've all been waiting for here. You're gonna address it and mock us and use it for something else. I wish, and please, I know you're trying to comment, and I know you want to say something, but like, if you can't comment, then don't comment. I mean, at least go with his strategy, right? Like, you're going a little too far according to him. Like, don't give us more than we want. You're feeding the crowd, and we don't want it. I mean, like, it's failure. There's no other way to describe it. He should not be here. They should not be here. We are worried about it. And if you don't think that if you're talking about, man, we are going a little bit too far about accusing, well, then maybe it's for the shock value, because we feel like you guys aren't. That's the way I feel like everybody feels here. I might not be the only one, and if I am, I'm sorry for speaking for anybody else, but this is nonsense. This is nonsense. The bathroom process, this red and green thing, like, my daughter barely understands what's going on with it. Like, I can't even have her explain it to me. Like, it needs to be better. Have somebody out there. Like, have somebody figure out what's going on out there. If it's not working and you've seen it's not working, then fix that. But you could have sent us an email about the lunch. Like, the nonsense that you sent us in that email, the canned message, like, that was a slap in the face. And then you make us wait here and mock us to tell us that, oh, we're all here for something else. So let's talk about the budget. Let's pat ourselves on the back. Don't pat yourselves on the back when you know we're here for this. If you're part of the community, then be pissed with us.
I just want to say, I'm here because I was there over and over and over again. So while I can't speak, which we know, to anything, I just do want to, I can't speak for the board, although I feel as though, we're together when we work. I was there. I know how you feel. And what I don't want to happen is anyone to walk out of here. And I know you're angry, and I know there's a lot of different feelings. I've had them, right, for a lot of different things, but I just want everyone to know that I hear you, that we hear you. And even if you are angry and upset that we can't answer, we hear you. And I want you to, at least when you leave here today, know that we're here because we were there. I know I was, at least. I hear you. I get it. I hear you. I'm telling you, I'm here because I was there. I hear you.
Member? Is there anyone else that would to the podium?
Hi there. My name's Jennifer Vinciguerra. I have a daughter in kindergarten at F and Brown. Since we can't get into specifics, I would gladly go read policies and procedures after this. But if somebody could tell me if my daughter told her teacher tomorrow that she was being abused, what is the mandated response from her teacher?
If a teacher has reason to believe that a child being abused, the law requires her to report that to the DCPNP.
Okay, so, okay, so can you clarify if so if my daughter says it, the teacher has to believe it?
If she has reason to believe that there was child abuse, there's an obligation. Frankly, it's not solely teachers. Any person in the state of New Jersey that has reason to believe that child abuse is occurring has a legal obligation to report that. Failure to do so would result in criminal charges against that person if they did not.
So there's some level of opinion on the teacher's part as to whether they believe it?
I don't know that I'd say that, no.
Okay, so if a child says it, the teacher is mandated to have a response. So if the teacher doesn't follow that protocol, then what is the corrective action they are?
Sure, there certainly would be disciplinary action within the district. If they're a tenured teacher, they'd be subjected to tenure charges. If they're a non-tenured teacher, potential contract termination. And then again, there'd be a referral to law enforcement related to that as well.
Okay. Equally, if my child is accused of some form of abuse of another student, what are the protocols of what then my child is mandated or not mandated to go through?
So again, that the district, if your child's accused of a crime against anyone else, whether it be a teacher, a child, a stranger, that'd be referred to law enforcement, and the district would work with law enforcement to address that issue.
Okay. And is there any policies in place to protect potential victims throughout a litigation process
Potential victims,
of any sort of abuse from another student or teacher? What protocols are in place to get them back into school, to feeling safe, and allowing other students to feel safe knowing there's a potential abuser?
I think that's too hypothetical for me to respond to. I mean, can you?
Yeah, we have mental health professionals that work with our students. Not only do we have school social workers at the elementary, school counselors at the middle and high school, we have school psychologists, school social workers on the child study team, and we also provide for therapeutic services through Care Plus NJ, who provide us licensed clinical social workers to work with students that are struggling with fears, anxieties, etc. Separate from this, we have cases of school avoidance that are, our school mental health professionals work with to bring kids back into school for a variety of reasons of anxiety that's keeping them from coming to school. So those same services would be provided for students that are struggling as a result of fears in this particular instance.
If I could just add that, so I think what you're looking for is there's also what I believe the vice president had referred to, which is the uniform memorandum of agreement between law enforcement and school officials. That is a document promulgated by the State Department of Education and the Attorney General's office in New Jersey. And basically it's a dense document, but there is provisions in there about what law enforcement's role is with respect to that. And when there's a referral to law enforcement related particularly, for example, to the alleged sexual contact, law enforcement's required to investigate that, obviously, and they're required to make recommendations to the district in terms of anything that needs to be done to keep someone safe. So if you're telling me, hypothetically, this child is a victim, law enforcement, we need to investigate that, and law enforcement would come back and tell us, what we need to do to address any safety concern related to that finding, if that makes sense.
And while that investigation is going on, that kid is kind of.
No, I mean, we would certainly take, I mean, again, it's too hypothetical to say, but, no one is not, everyone in the district is interested in keeping kids safe. You might not believe me, but, I say that with a degree of confidence, so.
So two other quick questions. Since this incident, the camera view, does it now capture the entrance to the bathroom?
We have installed cameras. There's a view, I believe, in each direction in that hallway and in the upstairs hallways as well. We are increasing the number of cameras in all of our schools. And that was planned prior to any allegations of anything.
Okay. And lastly, with the system in place, theoretically, if if a student wanted to do something nefarious, they could follow a child into the bathroom and put up 2 red stop signs and prevent anyone else from coming in for a certain amount of time and allow them to do this nefarious act, in theory. So we agree that that maybe isn't the best system.
I
I don't know that
yeah,
there is a
I
perfect
don't
one,
know.
but
Yeah, I don't know that there's a better system. I mean, that was put in place for a very different reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good
My name is Meredith Kershaw. I have 2 daughters at FM Brown, one in 3rd grade and one in kindergarten. Excuse me, one in 1st grade. She's grown. I appreciate that you can't talk about this specific lawsuit and the allegations that it contains, but I would like to make a general statement, and you've promised to hear those, and I certainly appreciate that. So just to get this statement on the record, I would urge you to enforce your classroom protocols and procedures to the very best of your abilities. I discovered that my daughter was seated next to the alleged perpetrator, the child minor, and when I asked that she be removed she be moved so that she is not sitting directly next to him, I did not receive an immediate yes, which I found concerning. As you've heard, parents are very worried about the implications of the allegations, and those need to be heard and taken seriously. I also made some suggestions that I would reiterate here, which is that any child who is accused of serious criminal offending be carefully monitored and supervised. You don't have to speak directly to that action, but we as a community of parents will know if that supervision and observation is taking place, because our children are in the school and able to report that. I would also like to correct the record on one point, Superintendent, which is that you mentioned that you haven't yet been served the lawsuit. And whilst I believe that, when we spoke on Thursday, April the 26th, you mentioned that you had received the complaint that morning. So to talk about service is to split hairs. You certainly knew and know the content of the complaint, and in fact have known about this situation that led to the complaint for much longer. And so I endorse what people have said tonight, which is that more information could and should have been provided, if not on specifics, then at least generally on safety procedures and protocols and what action would be taken in the future. I think we all deserve to know that, and I would urge you to be more communicative and more responsive to the requests of parents going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephanie. I have a young son in Lanning and one that will be entering Lanning next year. I have a relatively quick question around our policies or the policies that you've spoken to earlier. And so my first one is, we've spoken about the fact that there's 31 days of footage kept on the server. What is your policy around keeping that footage when a parent has flagged up to a principal or a superintendent or a teacher that an incident has occurred?
We download that clip, that time clip, and store it.
Okay,
And-
so 31 days you download right away.
No, and if there's a question about it, we make a copy of that piece of footage and it can stay for as long. I mean, we're talking about the amount of footage that's required for a full day of school, people walking through the halls versus a clip for a specific sequence of events or a time period.
Okay, but there would be like, let's say somebody has an incident, hopefully, I mean, they don't happen frequently, but if I as a parent have a concern and I reach out to the principal or the superintendent and I say, hey, this incident has occurred, could you please download footage? Not necessarily like a specific day, could we review what was going on? Would you be able to download a segment of footage to like review?
Would I be able to do that? Yes.
Yes. Okay, and so there is policy in place that if a parent flags something up, that's done immediately.
Uh, yeah, I mean, if you're talking about a crime or a fight between students, anything,
Any
yeah.
incident. Okay. So I just want to make sure that if a parent flags up an incident, that footage is downloaded immediately and saved so that like the 31-day rule may not.
Given that we have an ability to see something. I mean, there's times when the camera's not pointing in the right direction.
Okay.
There's a post, in the middle between what the camera can see and what's happening. It's not, these cameras are installed not to follow students and teachers around, but as a result of the fear of intruders in our buildings. I mean, that's the reason for security cameras in schools for the most part. We use them for other reasons and they're handy for other reasons, but not every corner of the building can be viewed on a camera.
Okay.
Generally speaking too, if you flag something early enough, then you could save that onto a CD or CD-ROM or something like that.
I
That's
just
what you
want to
have
make
to
sure
do.
that's happening. That's awesome. I'm glad that's supposed to be happening. Then my next question is, you had mentioned that law enforcement was involved right away. Is this Verona PD that's called in incidents, or do we get a third party, like an unbiased third party to review?
Again, I'm not referring to any specific
You
incident.
don't have
but-
to. I'm
but
just
the-
asking, and
So
the-
there's, again, it depends on the nature of the thing, of the particular issue. The first step would generally be both a call to DCP&P, Division of Child Protection and Permanency, and the Verona Police Department if it involved a, you know, issue that fell into one or both of those categories, criminal on the Verona PD side and DCP&P on the child abuse or neglect side. And then above the Verona PD is also the Essex County Prosecutor's Office,
Okay.
which is the next rung up, that it would go from the Verona PD then to the Essex County Prosecutor's Office. Depending on the nature, they have a special victims unit for certain types of crimes. They have other, it depends on the nature of what's happening. But yes, it's not just the Verona.
And our policy, well, it's not really a board policy, but it's a procedure. Anytime we call DCP&P for anything, we alert the Verona Police.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's not Verona PD like as the only governing body that's like investigating, and that it's other third parties that are involved as well.
By third party, you mean?
Like he just said, Essex County.
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
like they're involved.
yes,
Okay.
yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come up to the podium? Just please state your name, because I know you guys just walked in, so if you could just state your name. Thank you.
Paul Petrangeli. I have a child in Lanning and a child in HBW. I was watching on Zoom and some things just frustrated me, so I figured I'd show up just to basically vent because I get my time to do it. Basically, I'd like to say the schools, Lanning, everything to me has been great. HBW has been great. I believe so far you guys have been doing good and you were voted in by this town. So yes, I believe in this matter and certain matters, the ball has been dropped and steps were missed. But let's remember, this is a 7-year-old we are talking about, and these are allegations until they are proven that they are truthful. If a 7-year-old is called a predator or something like that, and I was his father, I would say something else is wrong at home and maybe the parent needs to be looked at. And B, I would take out my anger on anybody who called my child a predator until it is proven. So let's just be careful on that matter. I know there are steps being taken and the legal steps are being taken, which are correct. And I know things have been done, which you guys are following the correct process, which you're not allowed to speak on. So until everybody gets the facts, I would say you're just going off the media. And if you go off the media, everybody knows about the media. So let's get our stuff straight. And remember, we're talking about a 7-year-old when we step on this podium and put everything on the record. I know I won't be liked. I probably won't get an applause, but I don't give a crap. So let's remember, we're talking about a 7-year-old. And if he is guilty, then yes, he needs to be removed or put in somewhere, something needs to happen. But yes, until he's proven or anything, the facts come out, just watch your language, people. I read the legal brief and I know a lot more than you do.
Paul, I do give a crap and I thank you for saying what you said.
Thank you.
I know a lot.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come up and say anything? Paul, please. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Paul.
Mary Lou Menville. I have to say, I'm really disappointed with how this whole situation went down. I've known about the situation for as long as they've had that, BS letter that came out. I met with you, Superintendent, and Dr. Lanzo and the attorney. And none of the items that we discussed really got implemented unless the parents pushed it, quite frankly. We talked about cameras, we talked about the turnstile. We made it uncomfortable for you. And until that point, and honestly, quite frankly, until this point, I still don't think that any of you believe that this actually happened. I don't really care about your personal beliefs, quite frankly. All of us have children in this school system. And I will tell you, if God forbid something happened to my child, it would be horrendous. I cannot even imagine what any of us would do if now our child was put in that position. You guys have failed multiple children in this school district. It is unconscionable that you are still sitting there, that Dr. Lanzo is still sitting there, that Mrs. Graziano is still teaching. It is absolutely unconscionable, quite frankly. I just have no other words, except that I believe it is New York State law that you have to keep those servers, you have to keep records of videos for 7 years, not 31 days. So please check your laws, because I believe that they need to have them for 7 years. So, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to come up? Well, is there anyone else that wanted to speak at all? Because I know Mrs. Kendrick wanted to come up.
I just have a quick question. If we can't do a GoFundMe, and I'm really bad with politics, so sorry. But I know when we voted, there's been referendums for certain things and it's a specific amount of money that is for blah, blah, blah. Is that one of these things, or how do we get the money? Because I also, just listening to everybody's comments, I know all too well that not only, I know, that you mentioned, Superintendent, if there's a column in the way, but I also know from the last time I was here and I asked these specific questions that there aren't cameras everywhere. And I know that's not why they were put in place. They were put in place for more of active shooters, which is a crying shame in and of itself that we have that. But clearly we have issues now that we need cameras more. It's just the world. It's a really sad world that we live in. So I'd like to know what we can do to raise the money to get more cameras and to have them running all the time, and to not, how do we do that? Can someone please help us? Tell us how to do that.
So you're talking two different things. The referendum process is a particular legal process that would go through. The district has limitations and restrictions in terms of what it can go to referendum on, but that is kind of an itemized issue of the district is seeking additional funding for XYZ. What the other option, what you're referring to, is kind of gifts, and what the restriction on is gifts is that they can't be contingent upon certain things. You could give a gift with the expression of this is what you'd like the funds to be used, but the district can't accept funds, with a legal restriction in terms of it being used for XYZ, if that makes sense. So that's what was being referred to earlier.
So in response to that, if in fact there was a GoFundMe and we raised $2 million for, I have no idea, let's find out how much it would cost. And we said, here's our money. We would really prefer that you put this towards cameras. I understand that you're saying that you don't have to. Does anyone really think that would be a reality? I mean, is that real that you guys would actually do that to the town if we gave you $2 million for cameras and footage and you would use it for, I mean, I love
I
both,
think
but.
this board would be highly appreciative of a $2 million gift.
So,
for
so,
security.
so
Yeah,
I'll use this as an
Yeah.
example. I mean, you saw on here that certain gifts were given with certain intents, to the board. So again, it's just a matter of legality. You can't give us a gift that you can only use for X amount. That's just, is it form over substance? Perhaps, but that was what was being referred to earlier.
Okay, thank you.
Everyone at this table would love a $2 million donation for cameras.
Okay, I have no idea how much this stuff costs, and I guess my next question would be, and maybe it can be answered at the next board meeting or publicly announced or something. How much money
So
are we looking at?
we had asked, to see the vendor that runs our security services and our camera services to come to a board meeting. And, I stated publicly, we'd like to have that be a
Right.
public thing. And then, then the facts are transparent, right? And, if certain community groups were to take that fundraising initiative, hit me up for donation number one, but number two, I think that'd be great. I think this board, I can't speak for the board, obviously I don't have the power, but I think of course, who would not want more security cameras or security initiatives, right? So that'll be lovely.
Yeah, and I just imagine in terms of a fundraiser, I think people, if we give them solid facts, it's more helpful. It's not just like, can you give $50? Maybe I need $100 from you. Maybe you can only give 5, whatever it is. But if we know that it's $1 million, $50,000, 250, that's going to help. So as fast as we can move forward with something like that, I think that everyone would be appreciative and understand why we were doing that.
Mr. Cruz,
Thank
do you have the cost of the cameras that we recently bought? And if you don't have them, that's fine, because we had no.
So actually just one, that's actually just one component. So an individual camera unit, with like a 360 view, costs anywhere between, $300 and $600 per,
the
we're
installation,
talking
yeah.
about the actual hardware. But the, let's say like a cloud service, it's pretty expensive. So what we would do is that an RFP go out and then have multiple proposals be delivered to the board, where then we could actually make a determination on that.
We could ask if whether it's Eastern Datacom or whether it's one of their competitors,
Yeah.
to just give us a
rough number.
an approximate
Yeah.
proposal, right?
So that's something we
And
could
then
probably do.
I think they
relatively
could,
quickly.
any group that would look to map their fundraising against that would be appreciated by the board.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I'll go back and reiterate what I said before. We've seen this happening too much recently, and many things that could have perhaps easily been answered by being able to go back to a videotape or whatever it's called in the cloud. And it's really unfortunate that, and I will tell you that not all the schools are videoed everywhere. There's a lot of blind spaces, so beware. Be aware.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Giuseppe, rape seems to be a running theme in your leadership. If these allegations are true, will you resign? Oh, this is about you specifically. This isn't about the case.
I directed an outreach.
Laura Stiligato again. I have a couple questions. Wherever she went, my understanding is that there's quite a few blind spots in the school with the cameras that are set up right now. So I would like to know how that's being addressed. I'd also like to know who's watching the cameras, if they're being monitored throughout the day, if someone's specifically trained and what to look for. I want to know who is going to be paying for the lawyer fees for you in this case. Is that coming out of our taxes? Is that in the budget? Because it wasn't in the budget. So where is that getting taken away from our children? The insurance company. And so our premiums and everything will go up, which will still come back on us. I don't really know how that works, but I'm assuming it will still come back on us in some way.
So Verona Public Schools is actually part of a group of pooled school districts. So we pulled together and actually purchased all types of insurance as a I believe it's about 25 school districts and more. It's actually called the Morris Essex Insurance Group. And the reality of the way that claims actually happens, there might be a year that one school district has a claim, one year that doesn't. So it does actually the increase are not like huge through the roof with certain cases. So it's not something that we anticipate seeing a large increase in our budgetary numbers when it comes to insurance renewals.
Oh, even with the multiple cases that are going on in our district, it won't be going up that much?
So even so, I won't be able to say for sure, but on average, it's about a 10 to 12% increase.
And it is our taxes that pay for that insurance?
It does.
Okay,
yes.
thank you. I just again want to echo the sentiments that I wish you would all just do us a favor and step down. You, Dr. Lanzo, Ms. Graziano, save us the time. We do not feel safe with you leading our
Delgado, your
school.
time is up. Thank you.
But
Thank you for your comments.
I don't think that's fair.
Thank you for your comments. We
well, I still
understand how
have-
you feel about, you've said it numerous times. Thank you. I appreciate you being here.
So
And you have mentioned
that cut into my time.
yes, you spoke twice. Thank you. We are going to close public comment at this time.
Ms. Di Giuseppe, I'm happy that I was part of the group that hired you, and I trust you, and I want you to continue being our superintendent because I trust you.
I am too, Mrs. Di Giuseppe. I appreciate your leadership here with us. And I am unfortunate you have come into a district with other issues and you have handled everything with dignity and you've been very respectful to everyone.
Mrs.
And-
Prisco, I just want to echo the last comments from Mr. Waka and yourself. Ms. Di Giuseppe, you have my support
Yes.
as well. And let's continue forward.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Boone. Thank you. So we are closing the meeting. I need a motion, please, to adjourn our meeting. Our next scheduled public meeting, I'm sorry, is on May 14th, 2024, beginning confidential session at 6 p.m., public session at 7 p.m. in the Verona Learning Commons. I need a motion, please, to adjourn the meeting.
I'll motion.
Motion by Mr. Mood,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Ferrara. All in favor?
Aye.
It's 9:18 and we are closing out the meeting. Good night.